Didn't know his dad.
Well,
That's
I mean,
great how your brain works, right?
yeah.
He knew who the
Men,
Lakers were.
sports.
I know, right? Couldn't recognize his dad, but he knew who Shaq was.
Yeah, right?
That's,
I'm like,
that's
what
crazy.
the heck? Yeah.
Hey, lunch break. So glad you've come to just listen and watch us today. Got a special guest, Rocky Escobedo. Rocky, he's a multifaceted guy. One thing, Mike, he cuts our hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's our barber. Hey, we're going to find out a lot about Rocky and things he did. And Mike, thank you for being here today in the pilot seat.
Yeah. Thanks for having me back.
Well, you're part of our family.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, you've seen Mike on a lot of episodes, and love having Mike Green here. So we're just going to jump right up here, and you're kind of a local guy, right?
I guess a couple of people know who I am, or maybe they don't know who I look like, but they hear about me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Grew up in Shafter.
Shafter, yeah. So I was raised Shafter until maybe 8 years ago. Came into Rosedale because I bought a barbershop.
Yeah.
But, we can go back if you want to go high school time, whatever.
Go back there.
So
But we're talking about the barbershop. It's the Northwest Barbershop.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Callaway and Brimhall.
Callaway and Brimhall.
1400. I'm
Tucked
always
way
there.
back there in the corner. Yeah.
Yeah,
If you need
yeah.
a great haircut, Rocky does it great, and he's got a lot of great guys there.
Big
so.
shop too, no weights. That's
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
like.
you got
it.
Men
I
are all about
know.
that. We don't want to go in and wait, right?
Yeah, I know. Well, when I first went there, I had some people recommend it to me. And John McCormick and Jonathan, and I've seen a lot of guys in there. But one of the cool things is, sometimes guys don't have an hour or two just to hang out.
Right.
But it's a barbershop that, man, if you tell this guy you're going to be there, he'll be there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't, and I get one of the other guys, but I like the other guys too. But not as much as Rocky.
It's better conversation, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Just
it is.
one of the things is some of these people, they're like, man, a bald barber? I'm like, trust me, man.
We're not like women where they have to look at the stylist's hair, and if she has good hair, men aren't the same. I'm not, at least, right? I don't look at a guy if he has bad hair. I don't care what their hair looks
Oh,
like.
you're not
They
checking
cut
dudes
hair.
out?
Nah.
Not at
I
all.
don't care about their hair.
Mike and I go way back, so it's okay to
Right.
mess around like this. So
Well, that's good. Yeah.
before we get too deep in, you got something you want to ask this guy?
Yeah, so we have a thing on lunch break we like to ask people, and we want the audience to know. So tell us, we'll tell the audience, I guess, and tell us something about yourself that other people that even know you may not know.
Wow. Man, there's a whole
Nothing
lot
deep
of,
and dark.
I said there's a whole lot of things. Well, I can't smell.
Really? Was that after COVID or before that?
No, that was my accident.
You
2001.
can smell anything?
Nothing.
Or very little, even just nothing?
Nothing.
Can you taste?
I can taste, what I mean, salt, pepper, and stuff like that. But the smell. Sorry, guys. You guys can be pretty.
Oh, we can smell.
Well, I know this. I was going
That
to say
might help at a barbershop.
I was going to say with taste, so you think, oh, you can't, taste, so you just eat healthy all the time. I remember losing my smell in COVID and taste. I had probably 90% gone. My wife had 100% gone. She couldn't even taste raw onion. I was like, here, eat this. But I remember still wanting like Rusty's Pizza and buffalo wings rather than broccoli or chicken, something healthy,
Exactly.
My daughter-
It just shows how much it's psychological, right?
It's all
My
mental.
daughter Taylor, who's a consultant with our show, still can't taste or smell.
Oh, really? From COVID?
Yeah. Every time I go, honey, what do you want? Something. She looked at me like, I can't taste or smell. One day she came home, and how I knew it was going on, I was making her coffee, and I go, oh, what was you like in your coffee? She goes, just black.
Yeah.
And I was like, when you start drinking black? She goes, since I couldn't taste or
See,
smell.
that's the benefit. She doesn't know if it's bitter, not sweet, nothing. So let me ask you that. So do you drink coffee, and do you drink it sweet then, or do you still try to just?
Yeah.
Or you said you can't taste
No,
sweet
no.
or just salt and pepper?
Well, I can't smell nothing. So, but coffee,
Yeah.
salt. I mean,
Just taking it black.
I can't take it black. You know what I mean? I just put a whole lot of stuff in there, which I shouldn't because I have high cholesterol. But it's. But
another
yeah,
story.
Yeah, right.
different things I should tell. But
Yeah.
well, I think my wife though. You know what I mean? She's not just her, but other people too. Even at the barbershop, you know what I mean? They'll be like, "Hey, smell this, dude."
Yes.
I'm like,
You're like, it's like my
Something
daughter.
we take for
I
granted,
would,
right?
I would love to.
Yeah.
They're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh my
Well,
god."
a lot of
you know
people,
what I mean?
a lot of people probably the same thing with COVID now. I mean, that you can at least relate with some people because,
Right.
like you said, some people it lasts with
My
for
daughter.
a long time.
Yeah. They don't know if it'll ever come back.
And how long has your smell been that way?
Let me see, 21 years.
long enough to where you're definitely used to it. It's just
I'm
the
over
norm.
it. I'm over it, you know what I mean?
You've been over it. Huh?
Yeah. For a while.
Well, one day if you get it back, you may not be a barber anymore. So, guys come in pretty rough sometimes, don't
You're
they?
right.
Just looking at this stuff, I'm like, if I put gloves on.
Right.
I love it. So go back. So you were in Shafter, moved to Rosedale, bought a barbershop, but things happened early on too for you, right?
It did. I was probably, we'll say 7th grade, 8th grade. I don't remember when the war popped off, and it wasn't a big one.
Is that
But
the Gulf War?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I think it was support the troops and stuff like that. So when you're in junior high, they took her to high school, and then we had a lot of Army, all these other but then I seen some Marines, dude. I was like, man, I like those blues that they're wearing. You know what I mean? I said, I'm gonna be one of those.
So you just did it for the outfit.
At that time.
That's
Hey, these guys are cool.
and the song.
Yeah, right.
In the halls of Montezuma.
Correct.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. So since then, I was like, you know what? And of course, I wasn't a straight A student. You know what I mean? So I did things where what I shouldn't have, which is a whole lot of people when we were young, we didn't listen, and we did things what we thought were right, but it wasn't. But then
Mike's never done that. I don't
Never.
think.
Yeah,
Nope.
right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not. But
Never misbehaving.
Nope.
But my dad, he never really wanted me to do that. He wanted me to go to college. He wanted me to BC, try this, try that. I said, Dad, I'm not a real college guy or any kind of school guy. You know
Not
what I mean?
academics.
No,
Yep.
not at all. I mean, I wasn't a dumb kid. It's just I just didn't like doing it.
Yeah.
So we fast forward to when I was a senior, and that's what I'm gonna do. I was 17. I said, Dad, do you can sign before I can go? He's like, I don't want you to. I want you to go to BC. Let's try it. So I said, okay, I'm gonna try it. A couple things for BC, it wasn't for me. I said, right. So I was just waiting for when I was 18. Got the pen, boom, I'm gone. You know what I mean? My dad was happy, he was proud of me for everything, and he cried too, I said, man, don't cry, Dad. There's all the Marines around here, you know what I mean? but
was that somebody that was him already? Did you see that growing up in your household?
my dad was a minister.
Okay, I didn't know that, Rocky.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he went to Bible college, and I think it took 3 years. It was a 5-year thing, but he knocked it out and stuff like that. And so me growing up,
You're a PK.
yeah, straight up.
Wow, I didn't know that. A
The
PK who
preacher's
was.
kid. For
Yeah.
those that don't know that.
Yeah,
Probably very few that don't know
I guess
that.
I
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
explain that acronym. So,
Right?
yeah.
There you
Did
go.
you have to grow up with some stigmatism?
Of course,
You had to be the good kid.
Yeah.
'cause-
Perfect kid, huh?
tried to.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Tried to, but that when pastors' kids, they say the worst, you know what I mean? Because we don't want to be that, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? When you're young, you
Rebel.
don't really see it.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, So I was like, man, so my dad would tell me stories, right? And my dad, he looked like me, tattoos and all that stuff. But when he was 25, he seen himself. He says, what am I going to do? He says, I need to take care of my kids.
Hey, we're going to stop Rocky right there because we're finding out that he's a pastor's kid. But right now, we're going to take a timeout from one of our sponsors.
We're going to talk a little bit about amino acids. Amino acids, this one right here is all day UMA. It's kind of like the Swiss Army knife of amino acids. It's got B6, B12, glutamine, coconut water. It has everything as well as essential amino acids. If you don't know what essential amino acids are the thing that make the branched chain amino acids work. So if you do not have essential amino acids in your branched chain amino acids and you're trying to figure out why your amino acids suck, that's probably a good reason why. So come by, get all day UMA, because you want to do it all day when you're in the gym.
Swing by 7420 District Boulevard or call 661-282-8840 and ask for Steve for all your sports supplement and nutrition needs.
Hey, I hope you like that because that's how we exist around here, Mike, right? You're still getting your paychecks, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we can't cut your pay. No, So go ahead, Rocky. Tell us about being a BK and that your dad realized that
Right.
he needed to make a change and go a direction so he could support his kids.
Correct. So he sees that, you know what I mean? So, but he would still tell me and my brother, I have an older brother, Frank, and he would tell us, you know what I mean, the stories. My dad was a real boxer.
Oh, wow.
He named me Rocky, you know what I mean?
Oh.
So, no, I
And a boxer.
Well, actually, my mom was telling me last night, actually, why my dad named me Rocky. And it wasn't because of the boxing, and it wasn't my dad's best friend. No. It
The
was,
story's good.
Yeah, yeah, it was. To me, too. I was like, my whole 42 years, I thought that's why they named me Rocky. No. I'm like, well, thanks, Mom. Jeez.
Ruined it.
Just finding out.
Mom ruined the moment.
Yeah, right. I'm like, what the heck, man? I guess it was my grandpa's best friend. Whatever. But
So
anyway.
that's who you're named after.
Huh?
That's
Yeah.
who you're named after? Grandpa's best
Rocky,
friend?
you can still use a Rocky Balboa.
Yeah, that's the
thing.
story I'd go with.
Yeah, yeah.
I've heard that my whole life. You know what I mean? That's why I didn't name my son Caleb, which is my youngest son. I didn't name him Rocky. Because for that reason, my whole life, they're like, are you Rocky 1 or Rocky 2? I'm like, yeah, I heard that before.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Or Rocky 6.
Yeah, now. So, yeah, what are we on, 8?
Yeah, who knows,
Yeah,
right?
that's funny.
So anyway, so we go back to my dad's telling me, his stories. You know what I mean? Oh, I knocked this dude out. Oh, I did this, that. So me and my brother, oh yeah, what else, Dad? And then, but the end of the story, and he would be like, but don't be how I was.
We always get that. We always get that growing up, don't we?
Right? He said, be how I am.
Do as
now.
I say, not as I
Exactly.
did.
Exactly. So that's what he would tell me. That now that he's a minister, he said, be how I am now, not how I was then.
That skill could come in handy, knocking people out and be in the ministry.
Right?
Especially VBF. You know VBF,
Right.
right, Rocky? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, Mike? I'm teasing.
That's funny.
Pastor Ron and I have been in some pretty sticky situations
I
at the
bet,
church.
I bet, right? So anyway, so this is what we did, and then I finally did do the Marine thing, and I was 2 years, 3 years, and I was a good Marine, because I always wanted to be the best, and I just told myself, you know what I mean? So I got promoted quick, and then I thought that I was on top of the world. Come on, man. And I was like, look at this, So then they tell me it was my third year in. I was corporal at that time. I was the E4. And they said, my dad's like, I told my dad, I said, hey, 6 months, I'm going to be on a ship, and it's gonna have fun. And he knew me. I mean, he knew. He said, don't go, son. So what are you talking about? You can't just do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't say, hey, I decided to, this is not the career path I want to choose. Right, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you
Well, we were talking, too, before we got on air. It's just like that parents have that feeling, right? He had a bad feeling about it, you said, right?
He did. And this was the ship is. I can see it, and he's crying, man. He's. I know something's gonna happen. I don't want you to just stay. I said, Dad, you're just saying that, man. I'm gonna be all right. I'm gonna be okay. So I remember seeing the ship leave, and I see my dad crying, and we can't cry.
Yeah.
You know that. So I'm like, okay. So anyway, a couple months in, we stopped in Singapore, Thailand, and it was weird. It was weird, but I thought that nothing was going to happen to me. You know what I mean?
That's how we often were young, right?
Man, I'm telling you. So we stopped in...
Superman mentality, right?
Yes. We stopped in Hawaii first for 3-4 days. Loved it. Man, who wouldn't want to go to Hawaii?
Yeah.
You know what I mean, for free, too? I was like, heck
On
yeah.
a ship, on
Yeah.
a cruise, and with
Yeah.
a gun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not exactly a cruise, but yeah.
Well, if you want to say that.
I like that, though.
Right? So, we go, and then we stop in Singapore, and that was different. You know, so when people say, be careful with the hishis. I'm like, what are hishis? You know what I mean? So I asked my gunny, I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like,
Yeah, nobody knew the trans word yet, right?
yeah,
No.
So I'm like, I don't know what that is, gunny. And he's like, oh my God, he's like,
So
Escobedo.
it's a dual pronoun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know if we can even say that now.
Yeah, right? That's politically
You
correct.
can.
Yeah.
On our show, you can.
Right? I mean, so I'll
Yeah.
just leave that there
Yeah.
until I really seen it in person. I'm like, holy moly, dude.
Yeah.
This is
Culture shock, right?
Yeah, this is real stuff, And so we get back on the ship and we get to Thailand. And that's a third world country where people say, like, oh man, look at Mexico. You know what I mean? It's dirty and this and that. Well, try doing Thailand in Phuket, Thailand, and it's worse than Mexico, dude. I'm like, wow, dude. So that kind of gives us appreciation of living where we're from.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, whoa. whoa, dude, it's not that bad over there, you know. But these people are real genuine people. They're real nice. You know what I mean? You drop that, you know what I mean? These little kids, no clothes, no nothing. They come and give it to you. I mean, even $1, they'll give that to you. I'm like, whoa, dude. You do that on the east side of Bakersfield.
Yeah, just good-hearted people, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like,
I
whoa.
was gonna say east side of Bakersfield. You ain't getting it back.
Yeah.
They're gonna
No,
want
I know.
more, right?
They want more.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, where's the keys for the car, too? You're like, wow. But that was okay. And then what happened was, which we get to, you know, my life has changed after that, you know. So it was 3 of us, me, Barber, and I can't remember, another sergeant in Texas, right? So
So you're a Marine Corps sergeant at this
I
time.
was in the Marine Corps, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I meet this lady, and she spoke English pretty well over there, you know. And then she's talking to us and stuff like that. And she says, "Hey, I have a bar, and it's mine. If you guys want to hang out tonight." Sure. And she said, "Free." Man, everything's free is great. You know what I mean?
Young Marine, free drinks, bar. I'm there.
Come on, you know. So we do. We get ready. We find to the spot, and you know. Then it got a little weird because it was an outside bar, and drinks, of course. You know what I mean? Doing all this stuff, and then there's like some games, like some weird. I'm like, well, I don't even know what we're doing, dude. But it was strange. I was like, okay, fine. So, anyways, long story short. Apparently, which I barely figured this out maybe a year ago, and all I knew that I was on a motorcycle, and it wasn't a motorcycle; it was a moped. You know what I mean? And it was me and Barber. When I was driving, apparently there was a wall that I didn't see, and obviously I seen it, so I hit it. Boom. He goes over the wall. And that was it. That's all I remember until months later. So Barber, he wakes up a little bit and he's like, man, what am I doing? Where are we at? You know what I mean? And he was a cop, so he was an MP. So the first thing he did was make sure I was alive. So he said, okay, this guy's alive. And it was a rural area too, though, because he ran probably a whole mile just to find help, you know.
Wow.
He find a car. There was a car. He's like, hey, you know. And he said, you know, my buddy and this and that. So finally, they find me. And that's an hour after the accident. And over there, they don't have ambulances and stuff like that. They just have little trucks, you know what I mean? So they're all volunteers, too. So finally, a little truck comes, picks me up, throws me in the back of the truck, drive for another hour to the hospital. Wow. You know what I mean? And mind you, my mind had already, my brain shifted, so it was bleeding internal. Nobody knew nothing, you know what I mean? They just probably thought that he hit, and that was it. So I'm in the back of the truck, bouncing around, my brain, blood everywhere, you know? So I finally get there, and they call my dad. And he was a lieutenant colonel, and he called my dad. He said, Mr. Escobedo, your son got in an accident, and we just had to let you know, you know. So my dad, like, how bad is it, you know? They're like, well, no, he's in the hospital right now. They're checking on him and stuff like that. So my dad's like, okay, well, keep me posted at least, you know? And, okay. 6 hours later, they called back again. They said, Mr. Escobedo, we're going to give you a minute. I was like, a minute for what, you know? He's like, well, a minute to, we can open up his skull. I'm like, whoa, dude, my dad just told you. I mean, he's like, you just told me, you know, 6 hours ago that he was fine, but now, what are you talking
Brain
about?
surgery.
You know? Yeah. He said, well, then that's what he told him. He said, hey, well, you don't know that, well, they didn't know, you know, that it was bleeding internal, so we'll give you a minute. And my dad's like, well, it's a 23-hour flight from here, you know what I mean? Do what you got to do. So that's what they did. They opened up my skull and they took portions and so that was that, man. And then so my dad, before he got off the phone, he said, before this, he's how bad is it? You know, give me the percentages. You know what I mean? He's like, well, you want me to tell you the truth? You want me to lie to you? So my dad, well, he's my son. Of course, tell me the truth. You know. He said, well, 87%. 80% what? You know? He's like, well, he's probably not going to make it.
Jeez.
Yeah. So hearing that as parents, you know what I mean? If somebody says, 5% or 10, that's scary.
Any percent as a parent. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they try to break it too, because I've been told twice that my wife had a 10% chance of surviving the night. And I'm like, so let me understand it. There's a 90% chance that things aren't going to
Yeah.
go well. And my wife's still here. So we got a timeout for our sponsor, and hope you enjoy it.
We all know about creatine, right? Well, creatine was made in 1960. And there's no reason to still be taking stuff from 1960 when you got awesome stuff like Pump 365. What makes Pump 365 so great is it's glycogen based. Glycogen is the stuff you want to put into your muscle to make it expand bigger, beautiful. There's nothing like a bigger, beautiful muscle when it's Pump 365. It's an NO product loaded with glycogen to give you a pump, and then it says 365, so stay pumped all day long.
Swing by 7420 District Boulevard or call 661-282-8840 and ask for Steve for all your sports supplement and nutrition needs.
So we're glad to have our sponsors because they help us do what we do, learning about your story, Rocky. So we're left when your dad got the news that they had to do brain surgery on you,
Right.
and he was told that it was 80% chance that you were not going to make it. So I can translate into 23% chance you would.
Correct. Right. So, so obviously, I mean, as parents, that's it's horrible to hear that. You know what I mean, brother, sister. You mean, of course. So, my dad, he started throwing things on the wall and stuff. My mom's telling me this stuff.
Mom's are always good for that.
Oh yeah.
Let me break it down to you,
Yeah.
the blow
Give you the
by
real
blow.
story, yeah.
I'll tell you exactly what happened. but I do give my mom so much. Man, I love her so much because she was there from day one till still now. You know what I mean? And it was just one of those things, man. And then so my dad kind of shook it off. He's like, all right, we got to go see him. So my whole family flew to Thailand.
Wow.
'Cause
Dedication for family.
How long were you in the hospital, actually? Were you getting there? Were you
Total. I was in Thailand. I was in a coma. So,
and this was in a hospital in Thailand, not a military hospital, right?
No,
Like a civilian hospital.
It's
Okay.
a third world
Wow.
country. You should see those things. I was like, whoa, dude. Yeah.
So I'm just picturing, like, from what I've seen on TV. I've never been there, but I can
Yeah.
imagine
Yeah.
just this.
Yeah, what you see in your mind is probably worse
Yeah,
than what
wow.
you think. You know what I mean? Yeah, because none of these things were. It was insane, man. So I was there. I don't remember being in Thailand in the hospital. I don't.
Wow. And how long were you there total?
Almost about a month.
Jeez.
Because they couldn't fly me out because my brain was swollen still. You know what I mean? So my dad was telling me, "Hey, I got to get my son out of here. We're in a third world country here." And they're like, "Well, we can't because the swelling." Finally, maybe 3.5 weeks or a month, I'm not sure, but they finally gave him the go. You know what I mean? It's like finally. So they flew me back to Japan, and I stayed there for another surgery because what they did, which is crazy, man. When I did get the first surgery, they took my, what's it called? I can't remember what they call it. Flap, like a brain flap, whatever. You mean? So they take it off, and it was so swollen. They put that in ice, so I didn't have nothing here.
Wow. So it was just open.
It was open.
Yeah.
That was it. You know what I mean? For all those weeks, So, and I do see the video when they're flying me back to Japan, and you can see the ice.
And ice.
thing.
So
Yeah.
part of your skull and ice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, right? So I get to Japan, I do another surgery, they put it back on, and obviously you can see the
Like a
scar.
helmet. Just throw it back on.
Basically, that's all they
Gosh.
want. You know what I mean? Yeah, right. So I don't remember that part until it was the last week in Japan, and I remember walking in the hospital. You know what I mean? I was still messed up and stuff, but my dad, he's the one that was walking around, and I'm like, who is this dude? You know what I mean?
You didn't recognize your dad?
I didn't. No. I had no clue. I just thought
He was there. What a story for your dad.
Right.
Oh man.
The
Well,
commitment.
you and I talked. You said there were a lot of things you had to relearn how to do, including walking, right? And then they said you would never talk, right? Wasn't that the diagnosis? Like you'd
Well,
never talk again?
Yeah, but this is what it was. When I was in Japan, so I see my dad walking me around and stuff, and I said, who is this dude? My dad was a big
That's
guy,
crazy.
you know what I mean? Yeah. And then I was like, I think it's probably just a nurse. I don't know. You know what I mean? I do remember watching the Lakers, and I was like, ooh, it was Shaq, I think. You know?
Did you know who the Lakers were though?
Yeah.
Didn't know his dad.
Well,
That's
I mean,
great how your brain works, right?
Yeah.
He knew who the
Men,
Lakers were.
sports.
I know, right? Couldn't recognize his dad, but he knew who Shaq was.
Yeah, right? I was like,
That's
what
crazy.
the heck? Yeah. So eventually, I think they let me get out of the hospital and drive me around to get food or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, so it was a little car too. Come on, in Thailand, everything's small. You know what I mean? We're big guys compared to them. You know, but I remember being in a little car, and I remember my dad right here. So I'm like, man, I know this dude somewhere. You know.
Isn't that funny as a dad?
Crazy.
You know, yeah, it'd be interesting hearing your dad's side.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah, heck yeah, I could imagine. But then I said, but I couldn't talk though. That was my main.
Isn't that frustrating?
Oh my gosh, you have no idea.
I don't.
So you could think,
Well,
but you just couldn't get it out. Is that what it was? Do
I-
you,
not
if you
even-
remember?
Not even that when I was in Japan, because my brain was so swollen that I wasn't understanding.
Just
things.
kinda
I
there,
wasn't
huh?
grasping. Yeah, I couldn't
Wow.
grasp the concept of what you guys were doing and doing this to me. You know what I mean? But all I knew that it was my dad. So I kind of looked at him and I'm like, and he's like, yeah, I'm your dad. I'm like,
Gosh.
oh man, I was like, I knew it. I knew I
And
knew somebody. You know, what I
it
mean?
like hit you at that moment. Like, did you? I'm sure it didn't come back that quickly, right?
No, I
It was
wish
just
it
he was.
would have.
Now you're like he's familiar. At
But I
least.
had somebody with me. You know what I mean? That's what I knew.
Oh, I bet
That
that was such a
encouraged
good
you?
feeling.
Man, oh yes, of course. And then it was my mom, and I thought she was my aunt. And I was like, man, thanks, Dia, for coming over here.
Yeah, right,
When
right.
they're like,
I love you
"Oh,
too."
Do you ever mess with them nowadays?
that would be so wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
my
that
mom
would be
was-
so wrong, Tom. That'd be like the cruelest joke ever.
Right?
You know, it's bizarre. It is so crazy how your brain works. And I remember learning a little bit about this in school about how your brain can basically, and obviously you're proof of just rewiring.
Right.
You've had some pieces taken out, and obviously you can't smell certain things like that. But you've clearly, I mean, your brain's just figured out a way. You adapt to things. That is bizarre.
It's crazy, man. And then, so this is just the beginning of this
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah, I
you
can
know?
imagine.
Yeah. So finally, they fly me back to the States, and they're trying to take me over here, take me there, take me over there. And my dad's like, no, this guy needs therapy. You know what I mean? They wanted to retire me, honestly.
Yeah.
They wanted to retire me and $400 a month.
Probably disability
Yeah.
and everything
Yeah,
else.
something like that. My dad's like, no, this guy needs therapy, dude. I don't care how much you guys are gonna pay, but this is
Yeah.
gonna happen.
To keep you in the military and get the good treatment, right?
And they were saying no. So my dad's like, okay, well, let's go to the newspaper then. So I was on the top thing, you know, the local
Wow.
news and everything.
Really?
Yeah. And then, the military were like, okay,
Yeah.
what do you want?
Yeah, yeah, right.
That's the worst thing.
Yeah.
They don't want the publicity.
Yep.
No,
Wow.
no. So my dad was like, okay, if you guys don't want that, we'll just go to the news. Why not? And they're like, okay, what does he want, man? Shut this guy up. That's
Yeah.
what they're trying to do. So finally, CNS, I think we've talked about that. CNS is a place here in Bakersfield, with just all head injury patients and all around the world. They come to here.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, CNS, man.
Give them a shout out. Thank you.
Are they still here in Bakersfield?
Yes. And those people right there, I always have to give love, I guess, when people say that.
Yeah.
Well, Prudence, she was my case manager, right? So we get there, me and my dad, and it was a Saturday, actually. And my dad was like, he heard about it. He's like, man, I wonder if we can try it, you know what I mean? But it was a Saturday, but Prudence was there for work, you know what I mean? So she opens the door. She's like, "Hey, how you guys doing?" You know. So my dad's telling me about me, and this is Rocky, and this and that. And I think my dad had already talked about the military, about going there. And Prudence is like, "How you doing?" I'm Prudence. In my mind, dude, I mean, at that time I was like in first grade level in my mind.
Could you talk at this point?
No.
Okay.
So my dad's like, "Oh, this is Rocky," and she's like, "Hey, I know who he is. If he wants to talk, he has to do it himself." I'm like, "Yo, that's what I got my dad for." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm all right. But no, so from that day, you know, Prudence, she was a fighter like my dad. Yeah, so we're gonna get this.
Isn't it great to have those people? I always tell people patients need advocates.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, I remember being my wife's advocate, and when I had my heart issue and I felt, you know, like I had lost confidence in myself, my wife was there. So thank you, Prudence, and your dad.
Yeah, my dad and I can never leave Rose. Rose, she was my first counselor, basically. I mean, or to tell me. She had so much patience with me because it was 50 minutes in every room, different, whatever it's from, you know what I mean? But this was just for me trying to talk. So she'll, just like you guys, or we'll see, I'm right here and she's right here. And she's like, okay, say your name. I'm like, I can't, I'm like, so I just put my head down. She's like, say Rocky. I'm like, I can't, dude. Obviously, she sees these people every day because they're people just like me. But she would smile. 50 minutes just to find me saying. She's like, okay, well, you'll get more tomorrow. Like that, dude. And I was like, whoa.
Well, it's great to have those people in our lives that will challenge us. Mike, you've been in my life for 15 years, and challenges me, and yeah. So I like that, Rocky.
What was the total length then for your full recovery? That had to be. I mean, at this point, what time frame was that? Was that 6 months in? Was that a year in? I mean, which was weird because some people have been there for 5 years, 7 years, forever. Wow.
They have their apartments right there, and but at that time, every month they would look at my progress. My dad would come, my mom, and there was a meeting like this, and they would say, okay, well, this is where Rocky's at right now. First grade, second grade. Like, come on, I'm 22 years old, yet I think like that. But then, we're talking 7 months in, they were just so amazed that my progress had got so fast, and so, I'm ready to talk.
Brain's
already.
probably just rewiring itself, like I was talking about earlier. It's crazy.
Yeah.
How God made us, right?
Man, I'm telling you.
Was your dad praying for you, laying hands on you?
Hmm?
That's to me.
He was.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
And I should have said that when the beginning, I knew that so many people were praying for me because my dad, he said, from all these churches that my dad had preached before, he said, you need to pray for my son. Pray for my son. So
not just one congregation.
There's power
numerous,
in prayer.
And I say
Wow.
that's 100%, and I believe, you know what I mean? But there's another thing which I should have said from the beginning because there's a lot of things that I want to say.
Rock.
But when I was in a coma, I thought, when you say, you can see the light,
Uh-huh.
but it wasn't that. It was dark. It was darkness, you know what I mean? So when I started getting better and better, and I started thinking, I was like, man, I almost seen the light. And then I was like, oh, dude, that wasn't the light. That was the darkness, dude.
Wow.
Yeah, and, some people, they always say that, I seen the light. I mean, I was like, no, I seen darkness. So that's why I still believe, in faith, you know what I mean? Because at that time, I'm always on CNS, and I stayed there for almost 2 years. And it's so frustrating because I wanted to say what I wanted to say, you know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, man, come on, God. And I never got mad at him. I never got mad and say, God, why did this happen to me? You know what I mean? I knew I did this to myself. Obviously, I'm the one who was on the bike. But so did those other people.
Yeah.
Why didn't they do that? You know what I mean? But I didn't get mad. I never did. But I always ask and question. You know what I mean? I think any person would think that. You know
It's
what I mean?
okay. It's okay. God says, plead our case to him. He does. He wants to talk.
So, I think like that, and
So you spent 2 years total there, and
pretty
then-
much like almost.
So
2
after
years.
those 2 years, what type of progress were you when you stopped after the roughly 2 years? Where was your progress at?
I still needed work.
Yeah.
But the military said that's enough. Money's that's enough. You know what I mean? So my dad, but I got so much better.
Yeah.
I still couldn't smell, but I still can't. But
Yeah.
so my dad, he had quit his job just to take care of me. You know what I mean?
That's an impact. And there again, that's a dad still in it for his 22, 23, 24-year-old son. Yeah,
Right.
that's commitment.
Yeah.
You never finish raising your children.
Nope.
Never.
They just quit listening to you.
Right?
Yeah. So, my dad was about, $100,000 a year job, He's like, I can't. I need to take care of my son, So with me getting better, then my dad tells me, he's like, hey, I got to go to the doctor. You know, man, there's another checkup, whatever. So I go with him, which I always did. For 5 years, me and him were best friends. I mean, not just because he's my dad. We just seen each other
A
every day.
whole new relationship.
Man, yeah. So we go. I sit. They call him in. I was like, go ahead, Dad. I'll be here. And he comes back about a minute with his sunglasses on, and he's like, hey, let's go. My dad didn't really talk to me like that. I'm like, okay. Put the book down. And he told me the keys, and he's like, you drive. I was like, okay. I said, what's going on, you know? And my dad started crying. He's I have cirrhosis. I was like, what is cirrhosis, you know? And he's like, basically, they tell me about 3-4 years if I don't get a liver. I was like, Dad, look at you.
Uh-huh.
He's like, yes, my body, yes, but you don't know.
It's the inside. It's what we do to ourselves early.
Right.
You know, those early years.
Exactly.
Hey, there may be the chassis may look good. You're into cars. This dude fixes up nice cars, and it can look great on the outside, but if it's not good on the inside,
Yeah, it's rotten inside, I guess. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, I said, wow, all right, Dad. So I trying to help him, you know what I mean? But my dad, man, that guy was so everything for me, you know what I mean? I loved him with all my heart, you know? Until one day, my mom, he had helped me buy a house by myself and all this other stuff. We lived, you know, pretty close, me and my mom and my dad. And then my mom came, boom, 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 boom. And then I had my son. He was a baby. He was a year old, if that. And she said, you better go check on your dad. I said, what happened? She's like, just go check. And it was raining outside, I remember. I said, all right, well, here's the baby. So I go over there. And there was an extra key, of course. And I said, well, I'm not even going to knock on the door. So I just get the key, open the door. So I'm like, hey, Dad. Nothing. I said, man, okay. I said, hey, Dad. He was in the back room. I'm over here. I said, okay. I said, you all right? He's putting his shoes on. He looks at me. Now I got to go to work. I said, okay. Man, I was like, what's my mom talking about, you know? So I said, hey, Dad, well, let me go with you. And he's like, yeah, you want to go to work? I said, yeah. He's like, okay. And I said, hey, before we do that, how about if I drive and we could stop at the hospital real quick and make sure you're okay? No, I'm all right. So then he started asking questions like, where's my collapse? Which is not even a word. So I'm like, oh, man, okay, he's not making sense. I said, Dad, you know, my dad's a big dude, and he pushed me out of the way. He's like, watch out. I'm like, okay, he doesn't do that, you know what I mean? So I called my mom. I said, hey, you better call the ambulance because something ain't right. She's like, they're on their way. I said, okay. So I go out there, and I'm waiting for the cops. And, you know, the way I look and the tattoos and stuff, I think I had a wife beater on, so I don't remember. But the guy gets there slowly. And he was a sergeant and he's like, what's going on in there? I'm like, something's wrong with my dad. And he's like, yeah, but you have to tell me exactly what's going on. I'm like, I don't know, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to go and check because he's not taking his medication or something like that. He's like, well, I'm not oh, man, I was hot. But anyways, finally, my dad says, I want my son to come with me because we put in the ambulance and stuff like that. We get to Memorial, I think, and that was it, man. He had a stroke. And I seen his legs, his arms. I was like, move, Dad. He's moving. I was like, oh, man, he's paralyzed. You know what I mean? Like, can you feel my foot? Or can you feel my hands and stuff? Nothing. I said, man. So I told the doctor. I said, hey, man, I think he's paralyzed. Okay. So then they said, okay, we're going to go shoot him up the second deck or whatever, and for tests and stuff like that. So my brother went with him. Then my brother comes down maybe 30 minutes later, and my brother, he looks like me, bald-headed and stuff like that. So he's walking. I knew something was wrong. And I'm like, what's up, dude? And he's like, I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, he's not going to make it. I said, dude, Frank, you sure? And yeah, so that's what happened for 3 days. You know what I mean? He was in a coma. Until the doctors came and they said they need me, my mom, my dad, and my sister, my brother. You know, so they're like, you guys decide. That's a hard decision.
Wow.
What do you think? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, so I look, and then And I'm like, no, I think my dad can still fight this, dude. You mean, look at me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to give up. No.
You know what I'm saying? You know, so then I talked to the neurologist, and the neurologist was a young guy. There was two of them. The youngest one, he tells me, I asked him, I said, let's be honest here, dude. If it was your dad, what would you do? And he's like, me, as what I do, he said, that was my dad, I would let him go. I said, why? He said, because the inside of his brain, that's what they would have to go in. He's like, and I know my dad would never want me to be having somebody taking care of him. He told me that.
Yeah.
He told me that before. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to do what he ever asked me to do. You know what I mean? But that was always an issue with me for a long time. And then, I don't know. It was just a big deal, man. I was like, why? You know? But God knows everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It was his time to take him. And then it was everybody, and everybody waited. My aunts, my uncles, and my grandma, she's the only one that didn't make it. She was on her way, but you know, my mom, she said, Frank, the boys are gonna take care of me, and if you're ready to go, go. So it's you know, people say things on TV or watching a movie, whatever, when somebody's been asleep for days, you know, and a big tear came out of my dad's eyes. So I said, wow. I said, man, this is insane. I mean, this is like not real, you know?
Yeah.
So I think maybe 20 seconds, 30 seconds, you know, flatline.
Wow.
So I said, whoa.
Not only your dad, but the man who took care of you
Yeah.
and was next to you for all those years through your recovery.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, Rocky.
So bring us up to current, Rocky, because you've got a DJ show.
Yeah. So fast forward till now, you know, we're talking 20 years later. And at that time, though, music was a thing for me. I couldn't talk, so I'm like, so at least the music that I liked, you know what I mean? So one of my friends, Randy, DJ Rec, he's, you know, when we were kids, you know, we grew up like that. But he's a real good DJ, you know what I mean? So I always used to see him. I'm like, man, I want to be like him, you know what I mean? And so he showed me. He's, I'll help you, dude. But I couldn't talk, so he'll be like, but that's another day. But that's when I started doing that. I said, I'm going to DJ. And with me not being able to talk, but people told me that I wouldn't be able to walk, talk. You're going to have to feed me and shower me and stuff like that. So my dad, that's when I was in Japan, actually, when the doctor told my dad that. And my dad's like, nah, this guy's a Marine. and God has the last word here, you know what I mean? Yeah. And which I hadn't been walking either. So the day after, my dad had told me, he's like, hey, dude, if you want to walk, I'll help you. That's all right. So he said it was a whole month. So I'm out there wobbling, you know what I mean? And then he said, this is my dad told me, he said that I set it up and start marching. And I was like, nah, that really happened. He's like, you started marching down the hall right there. And
Thank you, drill instructor, huh?
yeah. So yeah.
Rocky, if you would look at our audience out there and say, what would you tell them if they're in some impossible situations?
Oh, you know what? There's times where people say, you know, I'm going to give up. And you can't. I mean, you can. But whenever I went to CNS, the first time I was depressed, and I was thinking, that's it, divorced now, this, that, I can't talk. What's the whole point of this, you know? Until I see a bus comes, and these poor people, they're in wheelchairs, and they can't move at all. They're doing things. I was like, whoa. I said, man, I could have been one of those person. Absolutely, you know. So for me seeing that, I'm like, whoa, I'm not going to stay like this. I'm going to force and make myself to talk. And that's what I did, you know. So that's when people say that.
Made a decision, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's up to the person, man. And again, though, it's God's timing, though, because we, our flesh, we want this and we think this, you know what I mean? And I always ask God, I said, whoa, why? You mean, this is what I'm trying to do. So one day he told me, he didn't talk like this, but I got it. You
Yeah.
know, he's like,
That's the way God sometimes communicates.
yes. And I was waiting for the next therapist, and I just got it. He's like, look, you're walking, talking, just tell other people about me.
Amen.
And I said, man, am I talking to myself? Am I one of those guys in the wheelchair and stuff? but I didn't. No, I understood. I understood that God wanted me to do this. I said, okay. So I get better. Where I'm at, where I cut your hair. I asked, why, God? Why did you give me this? I'm bald-headed. You know what I mean? But then I got that part too. He's like, look, you're going to have a person in your chair for 15, 20 minutes. And you don't have to preach to them. You just give them your testimony.
Plant that seed like we talked about, right?
And Rocky does that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Rocky does that. You
Pastor
do.
Ron was always talking about plant that seed, and that's all you have to do sometimes.
I remember
It
that.
is. 2 Corinthians chapter 1 says that he will comfort us in our afflictions like you were, so that we can comfort others in their afflictions with the comfort he comforted us with. Rocky, what else do you want to leave? Because there again, where do you DJ at?
The Groove, 99.3, Monday, Tuesday, which I was on at 5 o'clock. Sometime.
You're on today?
I was on today, yes. And then tomorrow.
Isn't that crazy? So if you're out there, what can't you do? I mean, that's what's crazy about your story. I love your
Business
story,
owner, yeah,
Mike.
doing the DJ
I love your
now.
story. You've overcome an injury. Rocky's overcome an injury. And wow. I love it. Rocky, tell them about Butch,
well,
our Lucky's Rescue.
well, apparently, somebody needs to get Butch, right?
Yeah.
Show them that lovely picture. Yeah, and read that info on the back there.
All right. So, good with dogs, not tested with cats, good with gentle kids. His name's Butch. Wow.
Yeah, he's
If
a-
I-
Look at him there.
He's a
Look at
handsome
those
dog.
eyes.
look at that thing.
Go out there and adopt Butch, and that is, man, Rocky, just a great story. I mean, I love it. Hey, how can they get a hold of you if somebody wants to reach out to you?
Either the barbershop, 1400
Barbershop.
Callaway Drive.
And you've done a tremendous job. There again, don't look at where you're at as being stuck. Rocky's story should be inspirational as
kidding.
how you move out there, but you might have to take help, and that's hard for men sometimes, isn't it?
Of course.
Yeah. Why is that? But I'm just saying, I love the story about your dad. I love the story about the help that you had at the
CNS, yes.
It's there again. If you're in that profession, you do make a difference.
Absolutely. And that,
I'm
I
sure
do
they
want
know
to
that.
say that because, man, without those people, especially Prudence and Rose, I don't know.
Do you keep in touch with them still?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
I
but
bet you. That's awesome.
Rose, you know, I loved her like if she was like, you know, like a mom or a sister
Yeah.
or something. She COVID. I'm sure it was the COVID thing that got her, and she passed last year. So it's
Okay.
it was. But Prudence, I still talk to her.
That's awesome.
We're gonna see her soon.
That is
Well,
awesome.
well, you're a great story. Want to thank our producer Alex Howe. He's behind the camera today. Our executive producer Mike Harvey is going to Florida. Mike.
Yeah, Florida.
Yeah,
It's probably
I-
still humid over
Yeah,
there.
he's probably goofing off. I hope Mike sees this and
Yeah.
we get to find that. And we have an associate producer, which is me. They put my name on the paper. And supervising producer Nathaniel Tweed, our creative consultants Tessa Touchstone Jimenez and Taylor Touchstone, MLS Solutions for producing, distributing, and marketing. And if you want to go out to lunch break, it's our 511 Media Group Productions. God bless.